Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our brand new TravelJoy Workshop for payments. My name is Heather. This is a focused deep dive on how to collect and send payments in the TravelJoy platform. As I said, my name is Heather. I'll be your host today, and I'm joined in the audience by fellow Joy makers, Alan, Caitlin, Marissa, and a few other TravelJoy employees who will be helping monitor the chat and answer questions throughout the webinar. Speaking of questions, we welcome your questions and plan to answer some of them live at the end of the webinar. So make sure you put your questions in the questions tab, which is found in the bottom right corner of your screen. You will also see the team help answer some of those questions for you throughout the webinar, and a big thank you in advance to the Joy makers and the team for that assistance. Now, this webinar will move quickly, so please note that you will receive a recording of this session by email after its conclusion. You'll be able to pause, rewind, and rewatch the recording to really take in what we go over today and follow along with the recording to build your own invoices and send your own supplier payments. That replay will also include the chat and the questions tab, so you can access your resources shared during the session. You may hear me repeat that this session is recorded a few times throughout the webinar for any of the folks who join a little late, but please feel free to remind any of the fellow agents that you see ask in the chat if they happen to ask if it's recorded. Now, we want to make sure that you leave this webinar feeling confident and empowered to collect and send payments in TravelJoy. So, along with the recording that you'll receive of this webinar today, please make sure that you bookmark the link that I'm about to put in the chat for you. You'll see that in just a moment. All right, there you go. That should be loaded now. All right, so this link goes to the payments-specific page of our TravelJoy Help Center. This is where you can find our guides and videos on majority of the topics that I'll be covering today. This is a great place to reference if you feel like you may need to revisit any area for more details, but if you can't find an answer, you can always reach out to our team at hello@traveljoy.com or use the blue chat button in the bottom right corner of your TravelJoy account. So let's get into the good stuff now. Today, we are diving into payments in TravelJoy. We're walking through the full life cycle of a payment, from the moment a client books all the way through to paying your suppliers and withdrawing your earnings. With TravelJoy, you can send branded invoices in just minutes to collect both payments and authorizations. You can protect yourself and your clients with secure PCI Level 1 compliant authorization forms. You can set up structured payment schedules and automate timely reminders so you're not chasing deposits or final payments from your clients. And once funds are collected, you can use the built-in funds balance to pay suppliers directly using flexible methods like virtual credit cards or wire transfers. Our goal today is to make this entire process feel clear and manageable. Payments don't have to be intimidating. When you're understanding the difference between direct invoices and supplier invoices, how funds move through the platform, and how withdrawals work, everything starts to click into place. So with that, I'm going to switch my screens so you can follow along in my demo account. And while I'm switching my screens, I did want to give you a little bit of a heads up that here in Michigan, which I did see in the chat, we have a few fellow Michiganders. Hello. Here in the Metro Detroit area, we're having a little bit of weird weather for February. We're having some thunderstorms with side of hail. It's a little odd for the weather or for the time of the year. So if I happen to lose connection due to the weather, we do have fellow Joy maker Caitlin, who is on standby to take over for the webinar if there is any brief disconnection. So I do apologize in advance if we have that, but bear with us and we appreciate your understanding if it comes to that. All right, without further ado, I do have my demo account up on screen. So if I can have a thumbs up either in the chat or from an emoji reaction from you, I would appreciate it just to let me know you can see my screen. Perfect. I do see some thumbs up, so we will go ahead and get started. All right, so let's start by clarifying the difference between the two invoice types in TravelJoy: direct invoices and supplier invoices. They serve two totally different purposes, and which one you choose to use is completely up to how you decide to collect payments for your business and for each individual trip or group. Starting with supplier invoices. These are used when you're booking travel on behalf of a client and need to collect their credit card information for supplier charges. With supplier invoice, the client's card is not charged in TravelJoy. Instead, they authorize an amount and securely provide their payment details so you can later pay the supplier through their portal, their website, or even over the phone. As I mentioned before, TravelJoy is fully PCI compliant, and we do not store credit card details on our servers. Because of that, supplier invoices and our credit card authorization forms are the most correct and most secure way to collect credit card information. To be perfectly clear, credit card details should not be stored or uploaded anywhere else in the TravelJoy platform other than these two uses. Next is the direct invoice, which is used when you're collecting money directly from your client. When they pay, their card is charged and the funds are deposited immediately into the trip or group funds balance. From there, you can use the funds to pay a supplier or withdraw them to your bank account. And we'll get to those instructions in just a little bit. Just keep in mind that when using direct payments, they do have processing fees, which can vary depending on the client payment method and your account payment settings. If using direct invoices sounds like a good fit for your business, this webinar will be especially helpful for you. And once we wrap up, be sure to head under your settings and direct payments right here on this page to connect your bank account so you can get fully set up and ready to start collecting payments. I'm already enabled here, so I'm ready to go for this webinar. So in summary, the easiest way to remember the difference between the two invoice types is this: direct invoices directly charge the card. Supplier invoices store credit card details for later. Now let's open up a direct invoice and take a look at a few joyful features that you can take advantage of. For the first example, I have a client, Amanda, and her family of 3 heading to the Caribbean. I already booked their cruise and paid their deposit, and now I have a supplier document with all of the trip details and pricing that I need to turn into a TravelJoy invoice. To start building this invoice, I'm going to use the blue Create button over on the right, and I'm going to select Invoice Direct. And I'm going to hit Yes, because we understand we're building a direct invoice and that processing fees will apply. Now, instead of having to manually copy and paste everything over from my document, I can use this brand new Magic Importer tool located here. I'm going to upload a supplier document from my computer desktop. And then TravelJoy will automatically pull the important details from that document. Things like the package details, the package total pricing, dates, confirmation numbers, deposits, and final payments, just to name a few items. This import will generate a clean, branded invoice in just a few moments, saving you tons of time and effort. Once it's done, you'll review the results for accuracy, of course, and then you can send it out to your clients to continue collecting payments. Reading through the results, we see all of the important information we need to get our invoice started, including the payment schedule generated with that deposit payment already marked as paid with that paid due date right here. That's pretty joyful if you ask me. But let's say that I actually arranged a different final payment due date for Amanda so we can stretch that payment schedule out just a bit for her. TravelJoy Invoices can automatically calculate a payment schedule for you based on the remaining balance of an invoice. To do this, first, we're going to delete this unpaid payment right here. This is going to leave the invoice imbalanced, as we can see right here in this total area. Then we'll click Add Multiple Payments. We're going to select monthly because I want to build a monthly payment schedule. I want the payments due on the 18th of every month. I need the final payment to be paid by May 18th. And I want all of the payments to be paid in equal amounts. I'll then click Create Schedule. And we see that TravelJoy took the remaining balance and automatically divided that into equal payments based on the dates that I put in, creating a payment schedule for the client. This completely erases the need for you to manually add and calculate payments one by one. And as an added bonus, this payment schedule automatically generates payment reminder tasks to be sent to either you or the client before each of these payments are due based on each of these due dates. While we're here in this invoice, remember earlier when I mentioned that direct invoices have processing fees? On each direct invoice, you have the option to pass that fee along to the client as a convenience fee by checking this box right here. When selected, TravelJoy automatically calculates the fee and adds it to each payment in the payment schedule. If it's left unchecked, the processing fee is deducted from each payment instead, meaning you'll receive the net amount after the fees are removed. Now, I'm going to check this box to make sure that I receive the full amount that Amanda owes to pay the supplier. Then I'm going to click Next in this top right corner and select Save because I'm going to send this invoice out to Amanda later. Now, let's talk about the fee of many names. Planning fee, itinerary fee, consultation fee, whatever you call it in your business. This is how you make sure you're compensated for the time, expertise, and support you provide throughout the planning process. At TravelJoy, we want to make it easy for you to get paid for that work, and there are two ways to do it. The first option is to use that blue Create button again, and we're going to this time select Invoice Planning Fee. This will automatically pull in your default planning fee template. You can adjust the amount, edit the description, or update the due date down here. But you won't be able to swap in a different invoice template for this specific invoice type as the invoice planning fee. The benefit here of using this invoice type is when we scroll down here, the This is my planning fee box is already checked. That checkbox ensures that the invoice only contains your planning fee. The second option for your planning fee is to create a regular direct invoice, just like we did earlier when we used that magic importer tool. But this gives you more flexibility to use a custom template up here at the top of your invoice. However, creating a direct invoice that way and using a custom template means that you'll have to remember manually each time to check the inbox down here or check the planning fee box down here. Now, here's the big reason that this box matters. When a planning fee invoice is paid by the client, those funds are automatically sent to your connected bank account instead of sitting in the trip or group funds balance needing to be withdrawn. And speaking of a funds balance, we're actually going to move over to one of my groups where I have a few bookings and I'm ready to pay the suppliers. So we can take a look at what this looks like for you. Now, as a quick reminder, as I move over to my group, this entire webinar is recorded and you will receive the copy of the recording after the webinar is finished. And the recording will include a copy of the chat and the questions tab. So any of the resources included in the chat and the questions tab will be there for you to access afterwards. I just want to make sure I'm all caught up on any resources needed. All right, we look good. Perfect. All right, moving on to our group funds page. Okay. Once payments have been paid by clients and deposited into your trip or group funds balance, you can use those funds to pay a supplier by creating a virtual credit card or sending a wire transfer. Wire transfers can be sent to both domestic and international suppliers. And something I know a lot of you may ask, there are no additional fees for paying suppliers by virtual card or by wire transfers from TravelJoy. And the biggest benefit of doing this is speed. When a client pays direct invoices and the money hits your funds balance, you don't have to wait for it to transfer to your bank account first. You can immediately turn around and pay the supplier. It also makes lump sum payments easy. If a supplier wants one combined payment instead of 50 individual deposits, you can collect payments from your clients, create one virtual card for the total amount, and pay it all at once, which is a huge time saver. Now, I've already uploaded my supplier contract for this group, so I'm ready to use these funds options for our example today. Now, first, in my example, I have a $1,000 deposit due to my hotel, Casa Chameleon. So I'm going to go ahead and start by clicking Pay a Supplier. I'm going to start by using Via Virtual Card and enter a couple of details here about my payment. My supplier here is Casa Chameleon. And if you are paying a supplier that you've never paid before, all you'd have to do is start typing the supplier name and you can add them as a new supplier. Let's say you need to pay Hilton Hotels. All you have to do is start typing their name and click Add New Supplier. But in our example, I've paid Casa Chameleon, so I can click here. The description will be hotel deposit, and I need to pay them $1,000. I'll click Review Payment. It's going to give you a bit of information about the virtual card, and I'm going to talk about it in just a second, but I'll click Create Virtual Card. Now I'm going to close this just so we can talk about it a little bit, but I'll open that window in just a moment. So once we do that, TravelJoy will generate the one-time use virtual card, and that amount is pulled directly from the funds balance and loaded onto the card. Now, again, this is a fake account, so all of that payment information on that virtual card is fake and it won't be any money available to be used, but this is just for the purpose so you can see the real experience. And a couple of things to know. The amount loaded onto the card is the maximum amount that the supplier can charge. So if you're paying internationally, it's a good idea to make sure you build in maybe roughly 5% extra to account for the exchange rate changes that might happen day to day. But if the supplier has indicated that they'll be charging in US dollars, then you should be okay, but you might want to chat with your supplier ahead of time just to be sure. Once the card is created, you'll see that it is listed in your funds balance as a ready status. This means it is ready to be used and it has not been used yet. When you're ready to pay the supplier, you can click this credit card icon down here, and I'm going to zoom in really quickly. It's going to move fast. There we go. You'll see down here this ready status, and you can click on this credit card icon. We'll zoom back out. There we go. We'll click here, and now we see that window again we saw earlier. You'll get the credit card details right here to enter into that supplier portal, the supplier website, or give it to them over the phone. You can also use this window to cancel the card if needed. After the supplier runs the card, this status will then move into an authorized status. And once the payment has fully processed, it will then change to a paid status. If there is any leftover money that wasn't charged on the card, it will automatically return back into your funds balance. Now, you can create as many cards as needed to pay your suppliers for any of the trip-related expenses up to the total balance that's available in your funds here until all of your clients have paid into the funds balance. Now, let's say that I have already put a $500 deposit down for a zipline activity for this group, and I used my own credit card last week, and I need to be reimbursed for it. That's not a problem. What you'll do is you'll select right here, Withdraw Funds. Then you'll select the category. I've already prepaid the supplier. Here, you'll fill in a little bit of a description on that payment. So what I'll do is for the description, I'll put zipline deposit. Deposit, there we go. I put $500 down on my card. The supplier is Zipline Tours. And I paid exactly a week ago on February 12th. Then it's going to ask me to upload a supplier receipt. This is a document that is from the supplier. That was a receipt showing the proof of purchase that I paid them this dollar amount on this date coming from this supplier. So I'm going to find that file from my computer and upload it here. Then click Withdraw Funds. Oh, this looks like this was, because it's my demo account, it won't allow me to do it live, but that is the exact process that will happen. So apologies, folks. This did allow me to do it earlier, so unfortunately, it looks like it ran into a bump in the road during the live webinar, but that's the benefit of live events. So that's the exact process. When you hit the withdraw funds, it will show up in the transactions exactly how this virtual card would. So you would see the transaction, and basically this will go to the payments team and that will be reviewed. And this would be then transferred to your bank account in the next 2 to 5 business days with that document. Okay, so next, let's talk about when you need to use the withdraw action for your planning fee and your markup. Same button, withdraw funds. We have 2 options up here. This is my planning fee. This should only be used when you're withdrawing money that represents your planning fee, itinerary fee, consultation fee, so on and so forth. In other words, your compensation for your time, expertise, support through the planning process, as we mentioned earlier. And remember, if you used a planning fee invoice or check the planning fee box on a direct invoice, you can skip this step entirely because those funds were automatically sent to your bank. Now, this is my markup is used when your earnings were built into the total package cost. This means you increased the supplier price and included your profit in the overall amount instead of charging a separate planning fee. So in short, if you charged separately for your time and expertise, withdraw it as a planning fee, and next time you can use the planning fee invoice to skip this step. If your earnings were included in the total booking price, withdraw it as a markup. Choosing the correct category keeps your reporting accurate, supports compliance, and helps prevent payout delays for your business. And there is one more withdraw option here for refunds, but you'll notice when you click on it, you're informed that refunds can be done directly on your invoice. So why don't we do that one together? Dennis down here has informed me that he needs to cancel his booking and he is allowed a refund in this case. So I'm going to click on his invoice directly from this funds page. This is going to open his invoice in a new tab in the preview mode. So the first thing we have to do is in the top right corner, click on edit so that we can make changes to the invoice. Scrolling down to the payment schedule, we're going to find the payment that needs to be refunded. And we'll click on the third button. We're going to zoom in again. So bear with me, it's going to move fast. This third button here, that's a little dollar that's got some arrows around it. And when you hover around or hover on it, it says request refund. Zooming back out. There we go. When we click on this, the pop-up will appear asking how much you'd like to refund. And it's also going to confirm that TravelJoy covers any convenience fees that were originally included as a convenience for both you and your clients. And once you submit that refund, TravelJoy will automatically pull the amount from the trip or group funds balance as long as there's enough funds there to cover the refund. If there aren't enough funds in the balance to cover the refund, you'll receive an email giving you the option to have TravelJoy send you an invoice so you can cover the refund while you wait for the supplier's refund to be returned. Once the supplier's refund comes back to the funds balance, you can then withdraw it to reimburse yourself since you covered the refund previously. All right, folks, that brings us to the end of our payments walkthrough in TravelJoy. Thank you so much for joining me today and sticking with us through the full process from invoices and authorizations to funds, supplier payments, and withdrawals. I know payments can feel like one of the more intimidating parts of the platform, but once you see how the entire payment journey connects, it really does start to come together. So I'm going to grab a quick sip of water, pull up the questions that have come in, and we'll jump over to Q&A to see what we can answer live in just the few minutes that we have remaining together. Oh my goodness, so many questions have come in. Thank you so much to the Joy Maker and the rest of the TravelJoy team that has answered so many questions during this webinar. I do see a couple of people have asked if there are recordings of, or if there is a recording of this. Yes, this entire webinar is recorded. You will receive the recording of this webinar shortly after we've concluded. You'll get an email of it, and it will include the chat and questions tab and any resources that were shared. Someone has asked, are there any fees associated with withdrawing your markup? No, there are no fees right now associated with withdrawing anything from your funds balance or using a virtual card or sending wires through TravelJoy at all. So you don't have to worry about that. The only fees in TravelJoy are when using obviously direct payments. And those are only charged at the time of a client payment on the invoice. That is the only fee charged at this time. All right, let's see. We'll peruse a couple of questions. Oh my gosh, the team is so quick answering all of these. Thank you guys so much for being on top of this. We only have a few minutes, so I want to make sure I am answering a good one while we have time. Let's see. So someone is asking a question about adjusting an invoice. I'm not sure I understand the full question, but I can briefly go over adjusting an invoice. And so I'll first start by making it clear that you can always adjust an invoice, whether they booked through a group booking page, if you manually made an invoice, or as you saw in my example, if you use the importer tool to import a schedule and you have a schedule already made, if it's sent to the client or there's already payments paid, you can always go in and edit an invoice. So if you need to make any kind of adjustments, as we see here, I have an invoice that has a very long payment schedule here. You can always come in and make sure you're in the edit mode. You can easily tell you're in the edit mode of an invoice by seeing, icons over here. You can see preview in the top corner. But if you need to make edits, you can always delete as we go through the schedule here. If you need to add more payments, you can do so down in the bottom. You can add multiple payments. And we went through that earlier when I added a longer payment schedule for a few months. So you can reference that in the recording. You can always make edits and adjustments. My advice to you is following the recording earlier, that where if you have to add multiple payments in the schedule and you need to do calculations of like equal balances, then delete what you have in your schedule like this. You might need to do this a few times to delete what's on here. And then if you need additional payments added, doing it this way is going to be the fastest way possible. I might have messed this up too because we have a schedule already there, but yeah, TravelJoy will automatically calculate it for you. So you don't have to worry about doing the math manually. All right, lots of questions coming in, and unfortunately we are out of time. So if you did not get your question answered in time, please feel free to reach out to the team at hello@traveljoy.com or reference our help center at help.traveljoy.com. We'd be happy to assist you, and please check out our help guides. I also put a link in the chat at the beginning of the webinar that you can reference. There's tons of amazing guides on payments and everything surrounding payments that you can reference. There's great information in there. Thank you for attending our first payments workshop webinar. We are welcome to feedback. Please feel free to register for our future sessions. We will be doing a co-pilot workshop webinar next week. We would love to see you there and have your questions. But I hope you guys have a great rest of your Thursday. I hope you're having better weather than we are here in Metro Detroit. But stay safe, stay warm, and have a great rest of your week. Take care, everybody.